My name is Mike. I have a beautiful wife named Mary and a cute little boy named Jonathan. Me and my wife have always had the dream since our marriage to move to a beautiful house in a big and lively city and start a family there, although it happened in the opposite way. But we managed to achieve both of these goals. Jonathan was born, and after many years of saving, Mary and I finally managed to get enough money to buy a house in the central city. It was a modest and relatively old house, but it met all our requirements. This house belonged to some old recluse who passed away, so it was already furnished. That made our life much easier. We entered the new house and we were all excited. We finally bought the house of our dreams and can start building our life as a family. Our house had a room for me and my wife, a room for Jonathan, and another room for another new baby on the way. Yes, Mary is pregnant again, and that is the happiest thing in the world. It was really hard for her to get pregnant again after Jonathan. But after 6 years of trying, we finally succeeded. In addition to the rooms, we also had a living room with a relatively old TV that broadcasts only through old tapes that we will surely replace, and an attic full of old objects that probably belonged to the previous owner. And one day, me, Mary, and Jonathan were very interested in the objects in the attic, so we went together to see. In the dark attic, there were many old boxes. One box, it contained old toys. The second box contained newspapers, and the third box contained many old tapes that the previous owner probably watched TV with. The other boxes were irrelevant except for the box of tapes, so we took it down and looked at what was in it. In the box were tapes numbered in red, and next to the number was written a sentence. We didn't understand what the sentences said, so we looked for the first tape because maybe after we read its sentence, we will understand everything. We searched and found. Tape number 1, your best friend. What does it mean? My best friend? I wondered to myself in my head, and probably Mary and Jonathan wondered to themselves too. We thought it might be better not to look at what is on the tapes because maybe these are personal things of the previous owner and maybe he would like to keep it to himself. But our curiosity got the better of our fears and we decided to play the first tape. Insert the tape, and nothing happened. We thought that the TV was probably too old and it didn't work at all. But before we gave up, I had to try a method that has always worked on everything that didn't work in my life. I hit the TV 3 times and suddenly, we saw him. A strange but cute figure appeared on the TV with children's music and the picture was very colorful. Mary and I did not understand what happened and why this children's series was kept in the attic. But our son Jonathan simply did not care. He jumped around the living room excited and smiling, and we understood him because it is after all a children's series. We sat with Jonathan to watch the first episode and we really connected with the character and the series itself. The same character gets very close to the viewers, says that she is our best friend and that she is always here for us. The character in the first episode introduces herself. Dahia came to teach us viewers how to read and write. Teaches us about numbers, shapes, healthy foods, and more. We were very excited that this series could help us educate Jonathan and teach him how to make friends because after all, we moved to a new city. The episode we saw ended and Jonathan couldn't wait to see the next episode. Mary and I were happy with his enthusiasm. We taught him how to play the next episodes by himself, and we left. And she is to buy things for the house? Mary and I went to the nearest store and bought things for the house. But in this whole process, for some reason, I didn't get the thought of why the previous owner kept this series in his house. Why did he write down the names of the episodes and narrate them himself? This thought bothered me, but I didn't let myself sink into it. Mary and I came back from shopping and saw Jonathan sleeping in his bed and smiling. Mary and I were very happy that the program we found made him happy. We kissed him on the forehead and said goodnight. We closed the door to his room, and Mary and I went to bed. We all woke up in the morning. Mary and I had to go to work, and we still hadn't enrolled him in the new school because it was being renovated, so we had to leave him alone at home. We prepared meals for him that would last him until the evening. We brought him more tapes from the box so he could continue the series if he got bored, and also a few coloring books. But when he saw the tapes, he immediately jumped on them and took the next one, number 2, numbers. We were happy that the series would teach Jonathan how to count and maybe even math. So we weren't worried that he just ignored the coloring books, the things that were his favorite before he saw the series. Mary and I hugged him. We told him to take care of himself and not to overdo it with the series. He hugged us back and we went to work. My new job in town was a courier, a temporary job before I finish my degree in computer science. And from there, I will move forward to work in my dream job in the high-tech field. I am a messenger for a rather failed pizzeria, which is full of advantages, because that way I have a lot of time to think about the future, about my family, about my wife and my beloved son and the other son that is still on the way. Everything seemed so right, and I had the feeling that nothing could destroy what I had achieved. My life was finally happy. With so many thoughts, I didn't notice that my shift was over and that I now had to get Mary back from her job as a hairstylist. I took my car and drove to her place. I took her, and she and I sat drinking coffee in a cafe close to the house. We finished the shift relatively early, which means that Jonathan is still full from his lunch, so me and my wife Mary still have some private time for ourselves. She and I sat in a cafe and talked about the journey we went through as a 16-year-old couple in high school, about the fact that ever since we dreamed of this moment, Danny and she would start a family together and live happily ever after. Me and her were so happy that again, time passed too quickly, and already me and her finished our coffee, got up, paid and left for our house. We knocked on the door, but Jonathan didn't open. We thought he couldn't hear because of his series, so we opened the door with the key. The house was dark. We shouted to Jonathan, but he didn't answer. Mary and I started to get stressed and looked for Jonathan in the house, but we couldn't find him, until we heard faint howls from the kitchen. We went to the kitchen, and when we arrived, was it from that? I felt like I was stepping on glass. We turned on the light in the kitchen and couldn't believe our eyes. We saw on the floor of the kitchen that all our dishes were broken. All the plates and glasses were smashed on the floor, and then we saw him, our little Jonathan, on the floor, with bleeding hands because of cuts made by the glass. Mary and I were scared. We quickly picked him up from the floor and treated his wounds. We asked him, "What happened to you? Say, are you normal? Why did you do this?" Little Jonathan got frustrated with us with a sad face and said, "Bonbon, my best friend told me to do this." "Bonbon? Who is Bonbon?" I asked him, because I knew all of Jonathan's friends from the previous city, and I never knew anyone whose name was Bonbon. I asked Jonathan, and he pointed to it, to a box of tapes we found in the attic, and Mary and I did not understand what was going on here. Why was Jonathan pointing to the box? We asked him why, and he said it was him. The character in the cartoon series told him to do it. I thought he was hallucinating and just making excuses. I told him to apologize and go to sleep, and he did so. After he went to sleep, Mary and I tidied up the kitchen and noticed that the broken plates were arranged in a certain way. We didn't understand what we saw, but when we looked from above, we were frightened. On the floor was written, "Bonbon, the best friend." Me and Mary looked at each other. On the second, and then at the same time, we looked at a box of tapes in the living room. I thought to myself that Jonathan probably arranged the fragments with his hands, and that's why he was cut. But who is Bonbon? I asked myself one more time and looked at the box again. Mary denied it and went to sleep in the room, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of the cartoon character that endangered my son annoyed me, so I decided to do something. I went to the living room, took the first tape, and turned on the TV. "Hello, this is me, Bonbon." The series looked colorful and happy. The character Bonbon looked innocent and non-threatening, but I still continued. I wanted to understand what happened to my son in order to prevent more such disasters. Today is the first episode, so I will use it to introduce myself. My name is Bonbon. I like to eat ice cream, and I like to teach children how to succeed. All in all, so far the series looked excellent. Bonbon spoke clearly and to the point, and knew how to connect with the children's hearts. Everything seemed fine, and little by little, I started to think that Jonathan was just imagining or just blaming the series for his horrible act. But I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my son would put himself at risk to show how much he loves the series. The first episode was nearing the end, and I got to the room of the credits. The series published its creators and the other people who participated in the series. I saw the director, the animator, and then when I got to the part of the voice actors of the characters, I noticed that the name of the voice actor of Bonbon was not listed. Just Bonbon was listed, and I did not understand why the name was not listed. Bonbon's voice actor and the names of the other voice actors of the characters are listed. But before I could investigate the matter, the screen went black. I thought the series had just ended, but just as I came to take out the tape, I heard, I thought I was hallucinating and shouted, "Who are you? What do you want from my son? Leave my son." But there was no response. The tape came out of the TV by itself. I didn't understand what happened here, but I couldn't help but act. I ran to the box and put the second tape. Tape number 2, numbers. The tape started, and I heard from the TV. "Hello, I'm Bonbon. Today we will learn numbers." I screamed into the TV. "Who are you? What do you want from my son?" But the series continued. Bonbon went through the whole number from 1 to 9 and taught addition and subtraction in a good and understandable way. But I was still terrified. "Come read these numbers with me," Bonbon said. He showed combinations of numbers on the screen and told me to repeat them. He would see 38, 47, 56. Bonbon taught how to read combinations of letters. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the whole screen turned red. Bonbon's character became terrified and he said, "Come back after me, 543254. I didn't understand at first, and then I noticed. Bonbon said, "My credit card number?" I screamed in fear. "Who are you? How do you know my Ishra card number? Who are you?" But there was no response. The screen went back to normal and the episode ended. Then, after the credits ended at the end, I heard the same voice again that resembled Bonbon's voice saying, Then the second tape came out of the TV. I got scared. I ran to Jonathan's room and woke him up. He didn't understand why he was seeing his father sweating and shaking at such a late hour. I asked Jonathan, "Jonathan, who is Bonbon? What did he say to you?" Jonathan didn't understand why I was attacking him like that. He told me that he would be my best friend, and that best friends do everything for each other. And then he asked me to do some things. He told me to bring a plastic card like this and read the numbers. What about him? He told me to show everyone that he is my best friend by breaking all the plates in the kitchen and writing with the broken pieces on the floor. That he is my best friend and that's it. I was shocked. Bonbon told Jonathan to read him my credit card number and do the horrible act he cut his hands. I got angry, but I calmed Jonathan down and put him to sleep. I went back to the living room and stared nervously at the tape deck. I thought about giving the tapes to the police and showing them the series, but I was afraid they would think I was crazy, so I decided to take the eyes into my own hands and turned on the third tape. Third tape, shapes. "Hello, I'm Bonbon." He said it again. I saw the third tape and Bonbon was teaching shapes. He taught a square from this, a triangle from a rectangle and more. Then he taught that if you connect several shapes together, you can make special shapes. At first, Bonbon showed a square, then a triangle. He put the triangle on top of the square and said that this is how a house is built. He took 2 more squares and put them in the line of the windows of the house. Then he took a rectangle, and there, as the door. He asked the viewers what it looked like, and I said to myself in my head that it looked like a house. But again, the screen turned red, and Bonbon's character became terrified again. "It's Rosenbild 13. He said our address. Bonbon knew our address. The episode wasn't over yet, and I came to break the TV, but before I could do that, I heard Bonbon again talking from the screen. And the episode ended. I was so angry how this cartoon character dares to take ownership of my son Jonathan. How dare he? I was so angry, but I couldn't just end it like this. I couldn't just break the TV by having this character still exist and threaten my family. I have to end it here, and now I took the 4th tape and put it on the TV. Then nothing happened. I haven't heard the constant phrase, "Hello, this is me, Bonbon." It was just quiet. But suddenly I saw a video. A video of a man from his point of view walking down the street in the dark. I didn't understand what I saw, but I noticed that the neighborhood where the man was walking was very similar to our neighborhood. What? How is this possible? The man walks in the area of my house. When was this recorded? How was it recorded? What's going on here? I went to the kitchen, took a knife, and went back to the TV. And then what I saw was a door. A door that is very similar to the door of our house. You want, how do you know where we live? But there was no answer. I put my ear to the door and heard loud and heavy breathing. I screamed for Jonathan and Mary to wake up, and they both came when they didn't understand what was happening. I told them to look at the TV quickly, and they looked. We heard, "Hello, it's me, Bonbon." The series returned to normal. We saw the same character Bonbon teaches the viewers about animals. Mary didn't understand what happened to me and asked me why I didn't come to bed. And when I told her that I saw the series, she looked back at me with a disappointed look. Both of them didn't understand what happened. Why did I go crazy? They asked me what happened, and I explained to them exactly what happened, but exactly. As I thought, even though they tried to hide it, I knew they didn't believe me. Mary told me it was very late and called me to come to bed now, but I just couldn't. I couldn't sleep, knowing that someone was now trying to break into my house. I told her that I was under no circumstances going to sleep and that she could go to sleep without me tonight. Her disappointed look hurt me, but I couldn't just let something happen. They both went to bed once more, and as soon as they left, the 4th episode ended. And right after the credits, I heard the same voice saying, and the tape came out. I laughed. I thought I was completely freaked out. I didn't understand what was happening, but my body started moving on its own and put the 5th and last tape that was in the box. 5th tape. Bonbon meets a new friend. I didn't understand what the name of the tape says, but I didn't get too into it. I played the tape, and Bonbon was on the screen, but the screen was still silent, and the nice tune that was in the background was no longer working. Bonbon didn't even say his set phrase. He was just on my screen, looking at me smiling, and just didn't move. I didn't understand what was happening. Why didn't he move? And then out of nowhere he said, "Hello, Jonathan." What did I say to myself? What Jonathan? "I'm Mike," Bonbon continued saying. "Now you will be with me forever and ever, with me, your best friend." For a moment, I didn't understand what was happening, and I started to stress. And I thought to myself, why is he talking to Jonathan? Jonathan is in his room. And then I immediately understood. I didn't even think. I ran towards Jonathan's room. And then I saw him. I saw Bonbon holding Jonathan in his hands. I saw him holding Jonathan by his neck. I didn't understand how that made sense. What's going on here? How did such a cute and educational series become so destructive? How can this cartoon character affect reality? I knew I wouldn't get an answer, so I acted quickly. I took the knife I had in my hand and stabbed Bonbon. But Bonbon didn't react. The knife just went through him, and he didn't react. I kept stabbing him, but nothing happened. I started to cry. I didn't understand why nothing was happening, why I couldn't do anything in time. That this monster is strangling my son. I kept stabbing endlessly, and I didn't think to myself why I could see Bonbon on the TV itself talking to Jonathan in the other room. Then I realized I ran back to the living room. I took out the tape. I ran back to Jonathan's room and Bonbon was still there. I didn't think twice, and I stabbed the tape I had in my hand. Bonbon released Jonathan and screamed in pain. I continued stabbing the tape nonstop. I had so much fun watching this cruel monster suffer. Then Bonbon looked at me and said, "It's not over yet." I saw him fade into himself, but out of nowhere I started smelling smoke. I went to the living room and saw the house starting to burn. I didn't understand why or how it happened. I took Jonathan, woke up Mary, and ran with them towards the entrance, but it was completely blocked by the fire. The only option we had was to escape through the window, but the window was on the top floor and it was too high. The whole house started to collapse, and we had no way to escape. I hugged Mary and Jonathan. I hugged them so tight. I cried. I screamed. I was angry. I didn't understand how it happened. And just then, it seemed like our end had come. We heard him Bonbon laugh, saying, "No one takes my best friend away from me," and runs away. I screamed back at him, "Jonathan is not your boyfriend, he is my son." Bonbon laughed, and little Jonathan also started shouting out of nowhere, "I'm not your friend. I hate you. You're not a real friend." And out of nowhere, the fire stopped. Just as it was about to reach us, the fire stopped and Bonbon disappeared. We didn't understand how it happened and why it happened. I hugged Jonathan and Mary tightly and didn't leave. We slowly moved towards the living room and saw the tapes unharmed, as if the fire just skipped over them. The whole house was destroyed and burned, but the tapes survived. We didn't understand how and why, but we ignored them and ran out of this house and left the tapes behind. My family and I moved to another city after the incident, to another house, albeit smaller, but better than the haunted house we were in. Even though we were saved and I could see that Mary and Jonathan continued to go up, I just couldn't stop thinking about Bonbon. I didn't understand how such a case could happen. A cartoon character that simply controls reality. I couldn't get out of my thoughts. Off the top of my head, but I'm sure of one thing. I buy a normal TV.